So our purpose today basically is to introduce you to a lot of the tools that our customer service department offers. So Western Title is not a consumer-facing business in a marketing sense. So our business comes from you, our loyal real estate partners. And so we really funnel all of our marketing dollars into helping you build your business. Hey, Tom. So with that said, our customer service department is really where we focus a lot of our resources and allocate kind of our efforts toward helping you build your business, like I said. That's everything from marketing to also property research, and we'll kind of touch on our most popular customer service products and definitely farming and all of that. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get started. And like I said, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pipe in. Tom, did you cut your hair? Yeah. Do you cut your hair, Tom?
What's that?
Did you cut your hair? It looks so good.
It's, you know, it's either falling out, turning gray, or short usually.
No, it looks great. Okay, I'm going to.
Sorry about that. I was trying to finish up a phone call there. My bad.
Problem. Yeah, we're just getting going here. Okay. Hannah, are you seeing the right thing?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so like I said, we're going to cover marketing, farming, and then a lot of the, excuse me, tools that our customer service department covers. So we'll dive right in first to farming. I could not resist using that little bird. Okay, so what is farming? So it is actually a term focused area real estate marketing. I didn't know that until I started working at Western Title, even though I was a realtor prior. Of course, it is, you know, the more traditional, like it's planting seeds, it's cultivating your farm, and that's where your, you know, all your good stuff will come from. But it is indeed a term. Like I said, I didn't know until I started working here, and I kept requesting farms for my clients from customer service. And I thought one of the gals was mad at me because she would write it all in caps as it is on the screen there. And eventually one day I said, so why every time you send me one, you say, here's your farm? She was yelling at me, but indeed it is an acronym.
So when you start farming and you find a neighborhood that you want to farm, there's 3 opportunities within that neighborhood. So there's a seller, there's the buyer, and there's investors. So owner-occupied versus non-owner occupied homes. You can't send the same mailer to every house in a neighborhood. It just wouldn't be effective, and you wouldn't be sending the message to truly earn the business of a specific prospect. So we'll walk you through the process of getting these farms and an accurate list so that you can put your marketing together and get some real results. Where do we farm? Well, have no fear. Amy and I do this a lot, and we have dialed this down, and so we want to walk you guys through it. So our very first start is our neighborhood profiles. So our neighborhood profiles are a product that our customer service department creates for you. There's a lot of really valuable data on this report. It's up to the minute because this data is always changing with different sales of the homes. When they make them, it is true to date at the data. So at the top, you can see when it was created. It will also say the name of the neighborhood and how many parcels are in it. So it doesn't have to be a proper subdivision. You can use cross streets, a radius of a property that you're interested in. You can even draw a circle on a map, and all of the properties there will be put into this data on this report. There's a lot of stuff on here, so we're just going to walk through some of it. Average sales price by year. This is a nice steady incline, and they don't always look like this. Surprisingly, in Bend, you would think that it's always increasing, but it's not. So this is a good snapshot if it's going to be a good neighborhood where people have equity, they're going to want to sell a desirable neighborhood. This is a really good start. And seeing the years, you can see maybe a year that you want to focus on when people purchase because they've gained so much equity. And then length of residence too, it really depends on who you're trying to market, what you're trying to accomplish, and you can get really specific with some of these numbers and get creative with it. So if you see that 37 homes have been owned for almost 20 years. Maybe they're ready to downsize or move. Who knows? Like we said, it's just getting creative with your marketing and being specific with it.
And then we can hone in too, and just, if you just want to focus on those 37 homes, we can give you a list just of those homes too. We don't have to stay within, you know, the neighborhood. This is really kind of pulling the data for us.
And again, this goes back to the 3 different opportunities within a neighborhood. So you can see that 75% of this neighborhood is owner occupied, and the other 25% could be rentals, it could be second homes. When you get the proper mailing list from customer service, there's a column that shows you if it's owner occupied or not. And if it's not, it will also give you the mailing address that's different from the property address. So if you're trying to get in front of those owners that aren't living there, that's how you would do that. And then the holy grail. People ask Amy and I all the time, turnover rates, how do I get the best neighborhood? Well, we don't have a magic book that says which neighborhood has the highest turnover rates, and it's a moving target. It's constantly changing. But this report here is about as easy as it gets with identifying the turnover rates. And it's year by year. You can see that it's changing. We've been told that 6% is actually a pretty high and good turnover rate. So yeah, it's going to change every year, neighborhood by neighborhood, but this is how we get the turnover rate.
So another way that you can use farming and use customer service and use the Excel spreadsheets that we put together with all of the addresses is if you have a buyer searching for a specific type of property, I'd say that's pretty applicable right now. In the past, it's been, you know, people who had a very specific need, like a 5-bedroom, or if they wanted waterfront or things like that. Right now, we have buyers searching for a lot of different types of properties. So kind of wanted to walk you through some of the criteria that are available that our customer service department can search by. So for the farm list that we put together, you know, of course, it has your owner name, address, mailing address, all of that. But we can also sift that data, of course, by the owner occupied versus non, so we can specify that marketing message. Out of state owners, also purchase date. If you want to focus in, like Hannah said, on people that you know are going to have equity that have owned, you know, for 15 to 20 years, things like that, we can do purchase date. You know they bought during the downturn and haven't sold again. Purchase price, of course, if there's a specific market, you know, like 2 million plus maybe that you want to focus on, we can pull that. Year built, beds, baths, square footage, lot size, so kind of all your MLS information there. School district, that's a really big one, especially for folks coming from out of state that are looking at those school reports if they ever get to go back to school. That's a big one. Waterfront, as I mentioned, bare land. If people are looking to potentially build, obviously land is at a premium and there aren't a lot of lots, so we can do searches for that. So you can prospect to those people. Commercial, residential, multifamily units. We can search by specifically by investors if you wanted to target investors, people who own multiple properties within Central Oregon, within our Tri-County area. We can excuse me, pull by that. Zoning, loan type, and this is just kind of a snapshot of some of the criteria, and there are even more. So as Hannah said, please get creative with your marketing and ask us, you know, what we can do. How can we sift this data? How can we make it the most effective so you have the best return on investment? Any questions on marketing or farming rather, before we keep going? Yeah, Tom.
Would it be possible, I don't know who else has used Every Door Direct Mail, to give you like that postal carrier route and just get that information before we would send to that route?
Amazing question. I don't think I've ever been asked for it, but yes, we absolutely can do that. So we would take the map of that postal route, because I've seen those, and then just draw it. It'd be a little bit more labor intensive, but absolutely would pull that data.
Okay, because it wouldn't, I mean, I'm thinking I wouldn't want to send, you know, owner occupied stuff to a 90% rental postal route, you know? Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Great question. Yeah, cool. Send me those maps and which areas, and we can work on that.
Awesome.
Any other marketing questions? Farming? Okay, so now we wanted to move into kind of our most popular customer service requests on the buyer side and on the seller side. So the list kit, Devin, I know I've gotten one for you before. Tom, you've definitely seen them. Blake, I think so too, actually. So the list kit is also referred to as a trio, and that's because it has 3 basic pieces of property information. But there's a lot more in there when you dig into it. A lot of places you can look for red flags, both when you're working with buyers and with sellers. It's just a really good snapshot of a property. So while it's called a list kit and it does have a lot of good information for taking a listing, it's actually utilized more often with buyers and questions that arise during that process. So we have some agents that will ask for a list kit for every showing that they do, especially if they're working with a very analytical buyer, like an attorney, you know, that really wants all the data up front. So it includes the property profile from Dial. I should note, everything that we provide through customer service is of public record. So if you're very familiar with Dial and the county websites, that's where the majority of this information will come from. So we're basically a big time saver once you get, you know, once you're busy and need us to pull that information for you. Plus, if you get into the other 2 counties outside of Deschutes, their systems are a bit more antiquated and definitely not as up to date. And we ask for this information from them every day. So they're generally very, very responsive to us, and we can sometimes get it a little bit quicker than you might be able to if you don't talk to them every day.
Jefferson County is horrible. I can't find anything.
Oh, bad. I know. I know. Klamath County is even worse, but we won't go there. So all your tax information, ownership information, if there are any fines from the city, your subdivision for pulling CC&Rs, like I said, tax information, you can see if there's any back taxes, last recorded deed for ownership information, and then lots of maps. Tom, will you share maybe what you use list kits for?
If I have a listing, I'll typically have one, and I'll upload it in the document section of the listing so that the agent doesn't have to do any research when they're going for that showing, so that they can just download it and print it right there. That's typically what I use it for. Plus it gives me, you know, when I'm working on a listing, sometimes I'll pull that. A lot of that I can get off Dial, and then I just, you know, that way I have accurate ownership and other stuff when I go to that listing appointment.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, exactly. The ownership information, it sounds kind of silly, but for some of our newer brokers and even experienced brokers, it sounds funny, but always be sure you're talking to all the owners. You know, it's definitely asking that one question. You know, I see you're vested with XYZ. You know, it brings up a lot of questions, or it really opens that conversation if they are going through divorce, if it is an estate situation and we might need some death certificates, if it's owned in an LLC, and we can do some work on the front end to make sure that, you know, they have good expectations of all the paperwork they will need for their articles of incorporation and all of that. So it's a great, like I said, kind of opening question that can really save some headache down the road.
I'd ask a question, and only because I've had it kind of pop up, but it wasn't an issue.
Okay.
It'll say like Jimmy Jones et al., meaning there's other people under that. How does that impact you on title when we go to write contracts?
So it's interesting. That's basically just, I've asked that question before. It literally depends on who's recording it at the county, like this recorder that works for the county. Some will put everything on there, some will put et al. So basically it's very easy for us. We go to the deed and the deed has all the names on it.
Okay.
Yep. Et al. Is kind of the lazy man's way. List out all the names, so they just put et al.
Right, but if we're writing an offer, we don't know how many other people could be on the deed. So when I see that, I get a little nervous. Yep.
So we can always pull the deed for you and send it as you're writing that offer, or talking to that seller. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if list kits are used often for buyers, home books are definitely our #1 product for sellers, for listings. So the home book's purpose is basically twofold. And Hannah's going to speak to that, I think.
The home book does have all of the information from the list kit within it, but there's a lot more information, and it's pretty much just a complete overview of that property. All the fluff is what we call everything besides the list kit that's in the home book. And it has Edco information, school information. We've created brewery pub maps and dog park maps, trails. There's everything that you'd want to know in it. And we keep that up to date as things come through. So like Amy was saying, typically a home book is used for a listing or for a seller. And pre-COVID days, they would be printed and usually bound in a binder or booklet and left on the counter. And since that's not happening as often as it used to, we've created a digitalized version. It's a flip book. And so whenever you order a home book from customer service, you will get that link for the digital version. And you have that, you can send that out to people who are interested in the property or might be wanting to write an offer. Even if you have showings and you want to be proactive and just send that, that's a way you can get this information out there. Like Amy said too, the schools are a really big deal for people who have children that are moving, and this, the home book has all the school district information in there as well. The front page, you can customize the photo to be a photo of the property. You have to provide that to customer service if you wanted to change that. But these are typically same-day turnaround as well. Most of our customer service gets back to you in the same day. And like I said, they automatically send you the digital version as well.
And if you haven't familiarized yourself with Edco, I would definitely encourage it. They are a fantastic resource, especially with so many people moving from out of state. They have very, very nice breakdowns and snapshots of each community within Central Oregon. It can keep you out of hot water with steering, that type of thing. And will basically explain, you know, Bend is where you'll have your restaurants and more of your nightlife, whereas Prineville will be a more rural feel, that type of thing. So it's also very just visually dynamic, easy to navigate, a great resource. So we include the Central Oregon Edco profile in each home book as well. It has top employers, demographics, transportation ratings, all that type of information. Any questions on home books?
I kind of gave up on home books just because we weren't supposed to leave anything in the home. So the digital version, that's pretty cool. It's
really great. Yep. And you can download all the pages, one page at a time. You know, if you have clients that are looking for very specific information, you can attach it to your listing. It's great. So maps, we also are big fans of maps. They're just a wealth of information. They're also a great item of value if you're working, again, I sound like a broken record, but people moving from out of state is just the reality of, has always basically been the reality here. So, you know, if you're working with an online lead and you see they have interest in a specific property, let us know. We can send you what we call our map pack. So it includes 5 basic maps. One is an aerial though. It'll give them a snapshot of what's surrounding that property and just a little bit better lay of the land. Zoning map. So if they, let's say this property borders a large piece of land and they're wondering if that will be developed into a subdivision, we can take a look at the zoning and say, you know, oh, look, that's exclusive farm use. So unless something really changes, you know, that likely won't be a subdivision, that type of thing. Tax lot too, it can really tell you if it's kind of a mixed bag of larger lots or if it's like a northwest crossing that's all very structured. We also do a lot of custom mapping. So we have a GIS specialist who we work with who will do custom maps. We've done tour maps. This was a little bit more, like I said, applicable pre-COVID, but we do still have, we're seeing offices kind of start to come back to life a little bit, and they'll do tours, basically like a Fred tour. And we'd say, okay, here, let's put together all the listings of everybody in the office and bop around to them. So we've done tour maps for that, for MLS. Of course, we have all of our subdivision maps. Those also live on our website. We can print what I call the Mondo version, which is the large one that you would want in your office, all the way down to smaller ones. And we have a small folding one in production right now that will have Bend on one side and then Redmond, Sisters, and Blackfeet on the other. So stay tuned for that. Walking maps as well. So when you're walking a neighborhood and door knocking, it's color coded for owner occupied versus non. So going back to that marketing message, when you're knocking on that door, you know, if it's green, you're soliciting a listing. If it's red, you're likely talking to a buyer or a potential buyer. We also do custom mapping for listings as well. Again, you can attach to your listing or send to potential buyers. And that will basically highlight, well, whatever features you want highlighted. So for instance, one of the last ones we did was for a listing that was on the river. So the broker wanted, and there was also a clubhouse in the community and proximity to parks rather. So again, we highlighted all those community features, we did little pop outs with how far it was to the parks, how far it was to Mount Bachelor, how far it was to those river access points. Great for acreage properties as well to identify wellheads, fencing, cross fencing, access to BLM. Again, anything you want to highlight about the property. Any questions about maps? We love maps. Did I mention this? And they're pretty. They're fun to look at. Okay, perfect. We'll move on to our website then. Our website has a lot of information. Please poke around within there. I won't touch on everything because that would be a whole class in itself, but I'll show you just a few of the resources within it. Can you see that, Anna? Okay, perfect. So it's just westerntitle.com. This is a public site, so you don't need to log in or sign in. Anytime you want to return to home, which is kind of this tile screen, you can just click the logo. So we are in the process actually of revamping the website a little bit, but it's been probably 5+ years, but we did a lot of focus groups and basically asked our realtors what you wanted out of our website. They said, we want things within basically one click on the homepage. And so that's where these tiles come from. So ordering customer service. So basically anything that we've discussed, list kits, home books, maps, all of that you can request right within here. Or of course you can call or email directly, or call, email, text Hannah and I, and we'll get you all where you need to go. So I'm just going to touch on 2 of the tiles for this, for our purposes today. So CC&Rs is going to be the first. We love to be a resource for you, and customer service is always available to get CC&Rs for you. However, we do know that you're working nights and weekends and we work banking hours. So we wanted this to be an after hours tool for you, and it's fantastic. So you can put in basically any word within the subdivision if you can't remember, and it will pull up everything with that in the name. You can click view and view it right here, or right there rather, at the property, and answer that person's question about if they can park work trucks or have chickens, or whatever their weird question is. Or if you prefer them to do their own due diligence, simply click the radio box here. It will pop up this message box, and it will send it, or you can send it directly either to yourself or to your client from here, and it will go as a PDF link, so it won't be rejected because these file sizes can be pretty large. So that's a fantastic, that's probably our #1 used tool on the website. We update it every 2 weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of new plats and a lot of new subdivisions, so we're constantly working on updating that.
I use this all the time.
You do? That's great. You're all the clicks we see.
Probably.
Property and map information. Like I said, this is where down here on the bottom where all of those subdivision maps live, if you want to download those and have them, excuse me, in electronic form. Excuse me. This also has links to all of the county sites too. So if you want to dig around in Jefferson County, we have a link to it here. So the other, excuse me, other 3 things I wanted to show you live here in what is title and escrow. So historically, pre-COVID, we still have them, but people are kind of moving away from using them. Physical, tangible guides for buyers and sellers. We wanted to be sure that this was available in electronic form, especially now. Shauna includes these in your buyer and seller packets at the office. But again, with everything moving more toward electronic, that's what we're doing. So the first is the buyer and seller guide to title and escrow. This is a fantastic resource for new brokers. A lot of information within here. This might not be the best piece necessarily for a first-time home buyer, unless, again, they're very analytical and engineer or something like that, because this really is a deep dive into essentially everything in the transaction that you don't cover. So of course, title and escrow and everything that we do, how to vest your deeds, questions about the tax cycle and tax year, but also information on inspections and appraisals. I said, of course, title insurance. Again, with these, it's really nice. The download button here, you can choose to just download the full publication or just the current pages. So for instance, if your client has a specific question about how should I hold title, what are the different ways to hold title, you can just download this and send it to them. Or again, about our funky tax cycle in Oregon type of thing. So also, we do want to stress that our escrow officers are always available for you far prior to the transaction. So if you have buyers that have questions about taxes, you don't have to be in escrow with us for us to be a resource for you. And that goes far after the transaction as well. So lots of good information in there. And then also under here, we have two that are broken out into the buyer side and the seller side. The Central Oregon Moving Guide is tailored for buyers. And I kind of call these our fluffier pieces. So the buyer and seller guide is really a deep dive and really gets into the nitty gritty. The moving guide is just kind of a fluffier piece that talks about timelines and how to move with kids and pets, this little guy, where to get boxes, switching over utilities, things like that. It's a great little piece to send out, especially for utilities. The seller's guide here is obviously tailored to the seller side, and again is kind of a fluffier piece. We did create it as a potential marketing piece for sale by owners. So speaks to definitely why to use a realtor, and then also listing tips, how to prep your house for market, what to do for open houses, same thing, moving checklist, that type of thing. So really nice pieces in here. That's about the escrow process and the entire timeline of the transaction. So really good information here. And like I said, I really love how you can download just one page or the entire thing. Also, this is made with flipping books. So this is the same technology and the same view that you'll see of those electronic home books. So really nice. And of course I'm biased, but I think that our branding is definitely the most modern and the most beautiful of all the title companies here. And I really think it's in keeping with the Fred branding as well, just clean, like I said, modern. So we'll give a really consistent message for your clients across the board. Any questions on the website? Okay. Here. I couldn't resist. He's so cute.
Any other questions at all, even things that we didn't cover that maybe you have questions about? Perfect. We're so thorough. We handled all of it.
You guys gonna cover that?
Is that our app?
Yeah.
We can, if you'd like.
I just encourage, if people aren't using it, they should. It's, for a better word, bitching. It's awesome. I love it.
Tom, I feel like I planted you in the audience.
I know. Well, I mean, so basically, like, I'll do a showing and I can pull up, I mean, just put the general information and I can text a snapshot right to the customer while we're sitting there, and then they know exactly what, you know, closing costs or estimated closing costs would be, what they're coming in with down. It's a really cool tool. I don't have to go to a website or do anything weird. I can just do it right from my phone. It takes seconds.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, we could do a full probably 2 hours on the app. It's amazing. Yeah, at its heart, for Aaron and Blake and Devin, I think you're familiar with it, but basically it is a closing cost app, a mortgage calculator, but it has so many tools within it. Social media content, like Tom said, very easy to navigate and upload, you know, when you're on the go. Aaron, did you have a question?
No, sorry. I was a little late to the meeting, so I was just getting connected once I got home. So
no problem.
no, it sounds like you have a lot of great tools, and I'll definitely download your app. Those are really useful. You're at a house or showing a property, and I need to kind of help them understand what maybe their ballpark monthly payments will be.
Absolutely.
What to expect. Yeah.
I will email you the link to the app today, Aaron, so that you can get familiar with it. And then when we get together next week, we can go over it more thoroughly. And I can cover some of the things that you missed today.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting
It's okay.
onboarded, actually. I just got Fred, so I was at the office and it ran a little bit long, so.
Oh my gosh, an in-person meeting? What's that like?
Well, just a key, and then learning how to use the printer. Yeah, it was very brief, but yeah, yeah. So just getting set up.
Ed, we're so excited and welcome to real estate.
Well, I practiced real estate for 5 years in Washington, so we just relocated, and I'm essentially starting from ground zero here and trying to understand everything. It's nice to have a trusted escrow company for sure.
Yes.
Welcome to Bend. Oh, I love it.
Thank you. I'm actually from Oregon, so it's not like I'm new, but yeah, I grew up in Canby in the Valley, so.
Oh yeah.
Love Bend, and yeah, we wanted to get back to home and closer to family and closer to the snow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you brought the snow. Okay.
Yeah. More snow, the better.
Well, perfect. So here's contact information for customer service. Again, you can always reach out to Hannah or I, or your escrow officer. Anyone will get you where you need to go, but this is where we send those requests.
Okay.